So almost like a shock response where you're just,
Yeah.
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 So, in terms of diet, how can people transition to a plant-based diet, and what challenges do people face when adopting that lifestyle? I'm going to ask you a few here. And how can the book help them overcome those challenges?
Yeah. So one of the benefits of wellness to wonderful is identifying that nutrition is not the whole picture, right? Nutrition is a super important component for our health and wellness. But, and that was one of the things that I talked about. If you're looking at your pillars, if I'm not sleeping, the chances that I'm going to be successful in my nutritional world uh, go down, they decrease. Because statistically, if I'm regularly not sleeping, if I'm sleep deprived, studies consistently show I will be eating more. I will be eating 300 to 500 more calories a day. Those foods will be more calorie dense and less health promoting. So I will fight tooth and nail, use willpower to try and stay on track. But I'm tired. My body is working against me. My signals of danger are working against me. My inflammatory cascade, all of that is working against me despite my efforts to make nutrition lifestyle changes. Same thing happens if we are not finding meaning and purpose at work. And we are also not identifying to that fact that we don't have meaning and purpose in our work, but we're also, in not identifying, we're not finding it elsewhere. We're walking around with a void of meaning and purpose. It's going to be it is subconsciously hard to want to motivate around health and eating. We want comfort in that state. That's a need not met. That's a really important need not met. We're not recognizing it, but we feel dissatisfaction. We feel unsettled, resulting in or manifesting in cravings and either the implementation of willpower, which we know ultimately fails. We cannot rely on willpower long term. So ultimately that's going to fail. We're going to give in. We're not even cognitive of the fact that that doesn't come from what we ate or didn't eat. It comes from the fact that we're not meeting needs for meaning and purpose. When we're disconnected from our families, when we're arguing with a partner or having disconnection with our children, and we feel depleted and we feel exhausted and we're under resourced, I don't want the carrots and hummus. I want the peanut butter and cookies, right? That's a natural drive that we have for comfort. And so if we're not connected to the source, right? Then the nutrition, it becomes an uphill battle, and for many of us, an unsuccessful one.
Thank you. And how do you address the concern that the vegan diet doesn't have adequate nutrition, such as protein and other essential nutrients?
Yeah, well, I can't get into all of that now, but the book does address that.
Mm,
Uh, what I can tell you from all of my years of experience, just in a nutshell, if you are on a whole food plant-based diet, studies consistently show, and this is something that can be easily found on the internet. Studies consistently show that you will meet your needs for protein, all of your essential amino acids, essential fatty acids, um, and those are the foods that provide you the health promoting vitamins, minerals, nutrients, phytochemicals, antioxidants. They're the richest nutrient dense foods that we have, short of B12, which is something that if you are 100% plant-based, that is something that you want to supplement. Now, having said that, vegan and whole food plant-based, very different. So you can be a vegan choosing, unhealthy processed foods, foods high in salt, fat, sugar, oil, um, isolated proteins and so forth that are not health promoting. So I like to distinguish that whole food plant-based diet, healthiest diet. I know the foods that are the most health promoting for our systems, different from being on a vegan diet.
So, what led you to focus on the importance of authentic connection with family, friends, colleagues, spirit, and the natural world in achieving wellness?
Yeah. So there's a cost, right? We go on autopilot. We live in artificial harmony. We maintain that superficial sense. But what we're really telling ourselves is, I can't show up authentically. It's dangerous for me to show up authentically. I don't have a space where I can be me and accepted, meet my needs for acceptance. I have to hide behind a facade to meet that need. That is a message of danger. Ongoing messages of danger subconsciously create an inflammatory cascade in our body, long-term inflammatory cascade in our body, um, and that whole sympathetic fight flight response leads to chronic disease. So we're working so hard to optimize our nutrition. We're working so hard to optimize our activity and our sleep, and yet we're creating this inflammatory cascade in these other areas of our lives. And one of the contributors to that is not showing up authentically. Now, showing up authentically can be done. It's scary, right? Because again, a lot of times we, a lot of times authenticity shows up when we've been pushed too far, when we've had enough. And then that authenticity comes out as anger, as resentment. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you can, that was one of the things that I was mentioning. If you can connect to your core needs, you can show up in a way that is authentic, cares for your needs and for somebody else's needs. For example, I have a um, I have a date with a friend tomorrow night to go to the movies. And we've been planning this for a while, but you know what? I am just exhausted. I don't feel like going to the movies. Is it I don't go to the movies or I do go to the movies? Or can I connect with my friend and share, hey, you know what? I care so much about you and spending time together. I don't feel like going to the movies. But would you like to come over and we can order in and just relax at my house? You see what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden you have all these, or can we take a rain check and do it another night? Or can you think of something else that we could do that maybe fits the bill a little bit better? And you guys get you connect with someone else on coming up with strategies that work for both of you. So that is a way to connect authentically. I don't like it when you didn't take out the trash today. I don't like it when the house smells or whatever it is. What am I needing? I have a need for order. I have a need for ease. I have a need for contribution. I have a need for mutuality. Can I express that without attaching to what the strategy is, whether it's taking out the trash or doing the dishes or making the dinner or whatever that is? Once I can connect to the need, once I can share the need, whoever it is that I'm communicating with, we can strategize together. And it's amazing, just like on a plant-based diet, getting creative around what the foods you can eat are. It's amazing how you can get creative and expansive around strategies that can meet needs.
Well, just as a follow-up, do you find that people, when they get focused on that specific strategy as opposed to their need, they end up getting bogged down and it causes conflict because they can't articulate themselves?
I will tell you that 99.99999% of conflict lives in the strategy zone.
I'm thinking
Because
about conflicts in my own life, but in
yeah,
this.
we're attached to the outcome. It's about doing it this way or doing it that way, doing it this way, or, like here's another one, social media with children, right? Is it about they are on social media, they're not on social media, or they are only for 30 minutes or not at all? You know what I mean? Or is it sitting down with your child and saying, hey, these are my needs. This is what I'm worried about. This is what I'm needing for you. What's on the table for you? What are your needs? A lot of times, what comes out is we share needs. Our strategies to meet them have been different, but we share needs for health. We share needs for rest. We share needs for creativity and discovery. We share needs for exploration. We share needs for contribution and mutuality and so on and so forth. Can we find a way, whether it's social media, work, relationships, nutrition, activity, can we find a way to strategize to meet all the needs on the table? But that only happens if we can connect to them in the first place.
By understanding ourselves, essentially.
By understanding ourselves and getting curious if we're interacting with somebody else, getting curious around what's up for them too. What are their needs? What are the needs on the table for them?
So, how do you measure the impact of these connections on overall wellness?
Yeah. So I gave the statistics around loneliness. Statistics around connection are ample as well. Everything from increasing diabetes, lack of connection, disconnection, leading to increasing diabetes, increasing cholesterol, increasing heart disease, increasing inflammation in the body, decreasing immune function. It's significant. There are studies that show even just the empathic presence of a doctor in a patient visit can decrease by, I don't remember the exact statistics, but significant, like 40% as far as blood sugars, cholesterol levels. I mean, really impactful changes just from a doctor showing you they actually care. And it, to me, it's kind of funny because if we think about it, about health and whole foods and plant-based diets, Hippocrates said it so many years ago to put medicine away. There's that old adage, they don't want to know how much you care until they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Well, now it's beyond just knowing how much you care. It really impacts our physical well-being and contributes and promotes health over disease.
So many people look for a silver bullet, the one thing that will solve it all. What is your silver bullet?
Self. It's yourself. It really starts with you. You are your own silver bullet. And a lot of people don't like to hear that because they want just the pill, the quick fix, the pill and the procedure. But if the pill and the procedure and the quick fix worked, we wouldn't be looking for the next silver bullet. We would have already had it and been satisfied. We're constantly looking for that silver bullet because it doesn't exist. Even those things that we think are the silver bullet, we later find out that wasn't it. So for me, it's starting with yourself. It's connecting to your needs, your feelings, allowing those messages to come in and letting them guide you around what your next steps are for you.
Thank you. So what are your future plans for promoting plant-based nutrition and wellness?
Oh, that lives in my core. I'm never gonna stop. So at We Heal, we see patients individually. We also run classes on health and wellness, on nutrition and the 9 pillars and connection. And yeah, it will live as a personal and professional challenge for life.
Thank you. So to go back to self, we live in a culture that celebrates individualism so much and teaches us to be very self-focused, verging on selfish. In that context, why are we so unable to connect with ourself when and does our culture teach us to focus on an unhealthy version of ourselves? I think you kind of went over this a little earlier in your presentation.
A lot of the encouragement that happens is external validation and still doing. It's not connect, it's still at that strategy level. Taking care of yourself, what you do for yourself, right? Not what are my actual needs. Because when we connect to our needs, we don't just connect to the personal things that are important to us, we connect to our need for mutuality. We connect to our need for contribution. We connect to our need for respect and care for others. We connect to our need for interdependence. What happens in that in the realm of self-care in doing, we are in survival mode. We are in scarcity mentality. We are in a me, right? Getting down to those needs connects us to it's an it's an us. It's not just a me. And for me to thrive, it can't just be me.
So, in your experience, what are the most common misconceptions of plant-based diet that you encounter?
Oh, I think you name them. It won't taste good. It's only steamed rice and vegetables or salads all day. How do I get my protein? How do I get my calcium? Uh, what about my muscles? And so forth.
Because we might as well throw in, it's so expensive, as if
Yes,
rice and
it's very
beans are
expensive.
somehow more expensive than beef.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
so, with regard to connection, which is a huge part of your focus and the way that you presented today, um, how do you see the new generation, which is the first generation that grew up without ever knowing a time without social media and cell phones, to refocus our connections through these devices, so that when they say they're connected through these devices and not to other human beings directly? How do you think that's going to impact this future generation, and what do you think we're going to look like in a few years as these people grow up? And I know that's a philosophical conversation, but
It's a tough one and one I grapple with personally, having two daughters in the 10 and 12 age. Um, yeah, I don't I don't know what the answer is for that. I think it really depends. We have an opportunity, and I think and a responsibility to allow that younger generation, to teach that younger generation to also connect to a needs-based consciousness and a mutuality and an interdependence and a care and consideration and respect and kindness, and and in that identify their internal values. So much of social media pulls you out of your internal values to your external world. How do my Facebook facade, or, my Instagram live, or this filter or that filter, or how do I match up to this or that? It's so externally driven that there's a disconnection and a dissociation almost from our internal selves. And I think we have an opportunity to help our younger generation reconnect internally so that they're checking in, not just checking out also. And I think if we can do that, it's I don't know that social media is necessarily all evil, right? So it's more how we use it. What's the intention? What are we doing with it? And how is that impacting us? And if we're connected and grounded to our internal needs, our internal values, then social media is something we can use to promote those. I don't see that, and that's a possible avenue that kind of isn't completely becoming immersed in it, but also not completely, or consumed by it, but also not completely avoiding it.
thank you. So, and we've got just a minute left, and I just want to ask you hopefully a smaller question. You use a very interesting term, empathic presence. Um, how exactly what does that mean as opposed to just being there? What makes it empathic presence instead of just presence?
Yeah, so in empathy, um, we completely enter our own situation. We completely enter that present moment, and we're distractionless around, we're not attached to any outcome. A lot of times, even if we're present, we're still attached to outcomes. We're still living in a strategy mode. We're still thinking about the future or the past. In an empathic um, presence, it's about really being in the moment, connecting to feelings and needs, connecting to what is coming up in that particular moment. If you're offering empathy for someone else, it's not sympathy, it's not advice, it's not trying to fix their problem. It's sitting in that space, even if it's really uncomfortable, and exploring that moment. It's
Great.
being alive to whatever that may be.
Great. Dr. Pulde, thank you so much for your time. Really greatly appreciate it. If we can unmute the audience so they can show their appreciation, please.
Thank you,
Thank you
doctor.
very much.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.